Hey, so Tuesday, April 30th, regular class, post I Learn, where our brains are mush. So we're going to get a chance to talk and see if that helps things out. See, tomorrow, class-wise, you're going to have period 2, I Learn, and then period 5, and then period 3, then period 4. So aside from period 5, it's this flip-flop of all the classes. Thursday, you're going to have all of your classes, as I Learn is shorter, and then you're going to end up having all of them just a shorter period of time. Like each class is only going to be a half hour. And then Friday, we go to somewhat normal-ish schedule. You do have a best period, but you'll be going to your day of service on that one, not going to your actual best. For here, let's see, your Outsiders tests are graded, and they are uploaded, already put onto Skyward. My goal is to give those back to you guys on Thursday when we have all of my classes meeting. If you have your Outsiders book, you're more than welcome to cash it in, either for B points or for Starburst, or keep it. It's your book if you want to hold on to it, and that's fine with me too. And then the little kids' books for the book drive continues through this week, possibly into next week. And we have one of our last bell works. I think we only have one more after this. This one's called My Decisions, which looks along those lines. We're going to go through and talk about them here in a moment. But it gets us ready for our final book, which is called That Was Then, This Is Now. If you're gone today, we went through and you got a book number, and we'll explain how that works. You get a chance to come back, and we'll tell you your book number. You do not get your own copy of the book. The good news is you can't worry about not bringing the book to class because it'll already be here. It just means you have to be careful not to tear up the book because it's literally older than you are. 1, anyone who uses illegal drugs daily is a bad person. 2, getting revenge will help you feel better about a situation. 3, there are no bad people. There are only bad choices. 4, I would report my best friend who possessed illegal drugs, no matter what the consequences might be. And 5, good always triumphs over evil in stories. If you're watching this at home, you're more than welcome to pause now and do it, or you can wait till we're having the conversation and go from there. I'm happy either way. I am also giving kids a chance to spend B points if you're one of the rich kids who has a lot of B points. So I figure if you're upwards of the 50, 75 points, and you don't want to have to let them disappear at the end of the year, you can start cashing them in for food. And so today, kids could buy Pringles. Thursday, I'll be selling different things. My goal is I'll try to rotate different things each day. If you have the points, you can spend them. If you don't have the points, you don't have to spend them. My goal is I will sell them all the way up through the second to last week. The last week of school, I will not be selling things. So just giving you a heads up point-wise, you're trying to figure out how to do it. So that last week, I'll let you know this is the last week to buy things before we sort of run out of them from there. On here. Now let's see your thoughts before we get a chance to go through and to talk with each other. The first one. Anyone who uses illegal drugs daily is a bad person. We're just going to do the show of hands and if you agree or disagree. So have you guys agree with that one? And then disagree with that one. Interesting. All right, 2. Getting revenge will help you feel better about a situation. Agree? Disagree?
I don't know.
The fact that you smiled so big on that one is kind of scary. 3. There are no bad people. There are only bad choices. Agree? Disagree? Interesting. 4. I would report my best friend who possessed, meaning they have in their possession or they have them on them, illegal drugs, no matter what the consequences might be. Agree and disagree.
What? You would get in trouble?
And 5, good always triumphs over evil in stories. Agree and disagree.
Wait, what?
Right. I'm going to try something new. I tried my earlier class, which seems to work out well. Because we don't have a whole bunch of time because of our screwy schedules, I'm going to let you vote on which one you want to start with, as opposed to me jumping around. So taking a look at them, figure out which number you want to start with, and in a moment I'll let you vote. Whichever one has the most, that's the one we'll start with, and then we'll jump to the next one and so forth. All right, so we'll start with 1. If you want to start with 1, raise your hand. All right, that's in the lead so far. If you want to vote for 2, raise your hand. And 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that one's now in the lead. 4 is me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Most likely that one. And then 5.
Everyone raise your hand.
Number 4 is. How interesting. So far, every class has voted number 4 to start with. On this one, I want to hear your thoughts in a moment. Oh, our book. That was Then, This Is Now. To give you some highlights on it, it is a sequel to The Outsiders. It does not follow Ponyboy or Johnny or the Socias and the Greasers. It takes place in the same town. It follows two new people, a guy named Brian and a guy named Mark, but then a lot of the characters from Outsiders show up. They talk about the events that happened in The Outsiders. That's going to show up throughout the story. And so it's going to have a whole bunch of these overlappings from The Outsiders in that same town. Yeah, she's reading. She likes to read the book. She really enjoyed Outsiders. And you're also going to find out what happened to all of these people after the events in The Outsiders. But this book is a more adult book, much more so than The Outsiders. I like The Outsiders. The problem is, with The Outsiders, the main issue that it deals with, the idea of having that friend who has killed somebody and then running from the law, while it makes for a fun story, I don't think really connects to junior high life. This book does. This book is going to follow two characters and basically just follows their life in this town. And part of the things that pop up is they make poor choices. They're not good people. They make a lot of bad choices. That idea of number 3 pops up because the main characters do things that would qualify them as a bad person. But they keep telling us, I'm a good person. I just make some bad choices. And so it sort of helps you to figure out that part of it. Part of the poor choices are drugs. And they most definitely get into drugs. And it deals with what do you do when your friends go down that path? What do you do when you're tempted to go down that path? The reason I like the book is that those are issues you're going to have to deal with. There is a better chance that either next year or in high school, you are going to have a friend start doing drugs than there is you're going to have a friend who stabs a person and goes on the run. So that's why I sort of like this next one with the things that it gets into. But now back to you guys. With this one, on number 4, what is your thinking on the would you turn in a friend? Why or why not? Seppi?
Okay, well, it depends because, I mean, I know your friend is going to be a bad person because of being illegal. But you would also lose them as your best friend, and also, and even if I did tell someone, you can also get bullied because a lot of people said that, oh, you're a snitch, and haha, yeah.
And that is a definite drawback that goes along it. And part of it is, we don't know with that statement if they are using the drugs themselves or maybe selling them to other people, because it didn't say one way or the other. And if they are using them themselves, then depending on the drug, the worry is they could definitely hurt themselves and bad things can happen. And if you truly care about your friend, getting them help may be more important than keeping them out of trouble. Yeah.
I would agree. I would turn them in because you can get them help and it won't cause too much harm or something.
Not bad. Ooh, a quick side note to go on. I'll keep going. With that one, the idea of losing them as a friend, most definitely is possible. Because I had something very similar happen this year. I had a girl come to talk to me because she was worried about her best friend who had started cutting herself and doing self-harm. And so she was freaked out because it had gotten bad enough that she was afraid her friend was going to go too far and make things really bad. And so she came to speak to me because that's what we teach you guys to do. When you find out about it, you come talk to us. And she did. And when I found out about it, I talked to the parents because I've had family members go through very similar things. And so I talked to the parents. They are very open and very nice about it. And we got the girl help. She's in therapy now. She is doing much better. She is several months clean. But the drawback is she stopped talking to that girl as a friend because she felt betrayed. And she was angry. Even though the girl did it because she cared about her, even though the girl is happier now and is glad she's no longer cutting, she still will not talk to that other girl. And so it became that whole, was it worth it to save your friend to lose her as a friend? And so it's still conversations I have with both of them to this day. And it's one of those things where in that situation, if you turn that friend in, you absolutely may lose them as a friend. But is that worth it to save them? Leela, you had your hand up a moment ago.
I would turn in my friend because I've had family members who've gone through drugs and went so far to actually overdose or kill themselves. So I wouldn't want to stand around and actually watch them.
And those are some of the stories I get to at the end of the year. I've had the same thing in my family, which is scary stuff to witness. And the drawback is if you know you have friends going through it and you don't help them and something bad happens to them, that's on your soul. If you know they're in the process of doing these things and you step back and ignore it or step back and do nothing about it, that's partly on you. Reeves.
I would probably turn them in because they could end up going so far, like Lila said, to the point where they can overdose. Like, I have family members who are still going through it and trying to get better from it. So, possibility of overdosing and knowing that they're on drugs but you don't do anything about it, if they were to overdose, you pretty much think it's your fault.
I can definitely agree. Yeah.
Well, kind of two things, because if that's like the cops find out, like if they were really bad drugs and they found out that you knew about it, and they still had them, you could get in trouble too, just because you know about it. But if you tell them, then you won't get in trouble. And if they're drug associated in the first place, I don't want to be friends with them. So like, even if as I tell on them and they don't want to be my friend anymore, I wouldn't want to be their friend either if they were drug associated in the first place.
And to go along with it, which I completely understand the thinking, as it happens, sort of like in the book, you find out that the friend, say, his parents going through a really bad divorce, and the drugs came from an older sibling, and they're going through all of this pain in their life, and they're trying to find a way to deal with all the pain. So it's not just like a rock on, I'm a bad kid, woo! As much as sometimes life sucks, and kids try to find a way to deal with sucky life. And so that was one of those, they're not trying to be bad as much as they're just not strong enough to handle what life throws at them. So it's not always, unfortunately, life isn't always a cut and dried, black and white, good or bad. But I completely understand the morals. Webb.
Like you said, it kind of reminds me of the Outsider's book where they read the poem, and it's like enjoy things while you have them, because if you have a friend who's doing drugs, and then you might have to turn them in, and then once you do, it might be gone.
That is true. That is a one little piece of golden that is gone. That's a good point. Let's vote for our next one then. And we'll see what you guys have. So between 1, 2, 3, and 5. Figure out which one you want to go to next. We'll go from the voting on that one. And hello, Random Yearbook Kids again. We've missed you. It's been 8 minutes. I like how you walk into the middle of the room. You have a presentation.
Isaiah or Samuel Webb, Jesse Webb?
No, those are all 3 different kids.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. That was another fun game. Yeah. Wait, are you also Jesse Webb? Are you Samuel Webb? No, they're all 3 different people. Oh, they're gone now. I can't even sass them.
They said Isaiah.
Yeah, they said Isaiah.
And they also said Jesse, and they also said Samuel. They said, are all 3 of them the same person? The answer is...
Why would they all be the same person?
They all have the same last name.
But still, why would they?
You can't have 2 different people with the same last name and not have them be the same person.
I'm so confused. Yeah,
I mean, either. I was being sassy and making fun of them.
You're always sassy.
For yearbook, they're trying to figure out names to make sure, because they're going to put in the yearbook, like they mark like where you are in the yearbook, and I don't know, it's a yearbook issue. Let's ignore them and go back to yelling at each other. So between 1, 2, 3, and 5. If you want to go with 1, raise your hand. All right. 2, raise your hand. Not 3. So then 3, raise your hand. And just to check, 5. All right, 3 it is. So 3, there are no bad people. There are only bad choices. This is going to also play a big role in my stories at the end of the year. The difference between what makes you a bad person versus just your bad choices.
The end of the year.
The last week, dear. Yes.
Okay, so I agree because there are no bad people. It's just them making.
Wait, back up 1 second. So you're saying, just to make sure we have this right, you're saying there are no bad people in the world?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay, it depends also, because it's they're chill out there. Like inside, I know they have a heart.
Okay.
Like if they have heart for their friends and family, but like it's their choices. If they make bad choices, it can lead them to become a bad person inside. But not to
Some people are more sociopaths. So
I'm with you on that one, which gets to the interesting conversation.
No, because it depends. It makes them a bad person and it doesn't.
You mean it makes them
Hold on to that thought. Shama. Hang on. Shama.
Like, seriously, like the more bad choices you make, like the more you turn into that bad person, and you go out like that thinking that like maybe the become a bad person.
And I guess part of it is at what point do your bad choices turn you into a bad person? And that's where opinion comes in, but that's part of the question. Walden?
Yes.
So let's say like you kill someone
Mhm.
and you kill like
okay.
more people, and then you went to jail, and they let you out early because you were a good boy in jail. Or a good
That's how
girl.
it works.
Or a good girl.
Right.
And so they let you out, and you go kill more people. And
That means
then
you're
you
so
go,
bad.
and then you go on the run for like 10 years.
So, does the killing people make you bad?
Yes.
I've done that.
No, that's
Okay.
a bad
Wait,
It's not a bad person. It's
We're-
just a bad choice.
You're allowed to have opinions. Hang on. Campbell?
It's what you do with your bad choices.
Ooh. How so?
What you can.
Okay.
Like if you do
Hershey says it's what you do with your bad choice, how you go about solving them.
yeah, like if you do a bad choice, like if you do a lot of bad choices.
Oh my God!
And done.